Welcome to The Explainer. We live in an age of non-stop noise and constant communication. So, how did one of the most photographed women on the planet become this, icon of silence? Well, today we're going to unpack the strategy behind Melania Trump's really powerful and, let's be honest, often baffling public image. So, we're diving into the story told in the biography Beauty, Power, Silence to really get to the heart of Melania Trump's journey. And the book asks the central question that we're going to explore. Was she just a model who happened to marry a billionaire? Or was she a master strategist who figured out a totally different way to wield power? This quote really gets to the core of the book's argument. The idea is that her quietness, it wasn't weakness, it wasn't passivity, it was a weapon. A deliberate, lifelong strategy she used to survive cutthroat industries, build up this incredible mystique, and in the end, hold a very unique kind of influence. All right, so where did a strategy like that even come from? Well, it didn't start in New York. Nope. It started way back in a small industrial town called Svevnica in what was then socialist Yugoslavia. Think about that. A world where the group, the collective order, was way more important than any one person's ambition. And this contrast right here, it's everything. On one side, you have this structured, quiet, modest world she grew up in, and on the other, the gilded, over-the-top chaos of Trump Tower. I mean, to get from one to the other, that takes more than just ambition. That requires a complete and total reinvention of who you are. So the book makes this point that growing up in that system is what forged these core traits you see here. In a world that was so steady, so predictable, you learned self-control. You learned to keep your emotions in check. And these weren't just, little personality quirks. They were survival skills. They became the absolute foundation of her entire public persona later on. Her way out of that world? Modeling. But look, to make it on the international stage, you can't just show up and look pretty. She had to completely, from the ground up, reinvent herself. And that reinvention, it started with something as basic as her name, changing it from Melania Knaves to the more international-sounding Melania Knaus. That was a huge first step. It might seem small, but it wasn't just cosmetic. It was a declaration. It was her telling the world about her global ambitions. I mean, just look at this photo. It really captures her whole vibe, right? Even back then, you can see this stillness, this calm. And photographers absolutely loved it. See, other models were all about drama and noise. She gave them this quiet composure, this mystery that just made you want to lean in and figure her out. But let's be real. Behind that super calm exterior was a brutal, brutal reality. We're talking about fashion capitals like Milan and Paris. The competition was insane, and she was getting rejected constantly. As an outsider, a foreigner, she had to be tougher and work harder than literally everyone else. So that discipline she learned as a kid, it stopped being just a personality trait. It became her #1 survival tool. So after really sharpening that identity in Europe, she lands in New York in the 90s. And this is where her quiet, ironclad discipline is about to collide head-on with a kind of American fame and power that was on a whole other level. And their famous first meeting back in 1998, it's the perfect example of the self-control. Think about it. He was this huge celebrity, totally used to getting whatever he wanted. He asks for her number, and she says no. But then she asks for his number instead. In that one little move, she completely flipped the power dynamic. It seems small, but wow, what a display of control. That first meeting, that one moment, really set the stage for everything that came next. I mean, look at this timeline. It's a super rapid escalation from a social connection in Manhattan in '98 to this massive, lavish wedding in 2005, and then boom, right into the political firestorm of 2015. At that point, her personal story was completely tangled up with the Trump empire. And that wedding, it was an absolute spectacle. This Christian Dior gown was like the main event. And it was so much more than just a dress, right? It was a statement, a public declaration that was merging her high fashion roots with her new role in this world of insane American wealth and influence. Okay, so as her life gets more and more public, the book argues that she didn't just use her old strategy, she perfected it. She perfected this art of controlling her own story, and she did it by relying less and less on words and more on silence. In fact, the book kind of breaks it down into this 4-part playbook for controlling your image. Step 1, use fashion as your language. Step 2, master that poker face, that unflappable public composure. Step 3, use silence to just sidestep all the drama and controversy. And step 4, build a personal mystique that always keeps people guessing.
And this quote, it just nails the results of that playbook. In our media culture that wants everyone to talk all the time, her silence created this vacuum, this void. And what happens with a vacuum? People rush to fill it with their own speculation, their own theories. It meant her critics never had a clear target, and it let her stay this complete enigma. And let me tell you, that is its own very potent form of power.
And this is what that strategy looks like in the real world. Her fashion choices were never, ever random. They were messages. The sharp, clean lines, the controlled posture, all of it was designed to project discipline and authority. She was basically having a full conversation without saying a single word. But this whole strategy of quiet control, it was about to face its biggest test yet. It was heading for the political arena, a world that is literally built on noise. Because, yeah, the 2015 campaign changed absolutely everything. All of a sudden, her very private, very controlled methods were being stress-tested on the world's biggest, loudest stage. The level of scrutiny was just relentless and totally unlike anything she'd ever faced before. And when I say intense, I mean intense. The media dug into every single corner of her life, her modeling past, her immigration story, her speeches. I mean, you name it. And yet through all of that fire, her response was always the same, that signature quiet restraint. She just refused to engage. So in the end, the biography Beauty, Power, Silence really just leaves us with this one big question. Was she a reluctant first lady dragged into a world she didn't want? Or was she a master of silent influence, playing a different game all along? The book suggests her story is this incredible case study in a totally different kind of power, one that proves you don't always need a megaphone to be heard. And it's sometimes the real power is found in the quiet spaces in between.